Leaders that inspire, CEOs that connect. Peter Wilkinson, who are the chief executives in Australia that are inspiring you at the moment?
So I'm going to name 5, and there'll be people who'll disagree, and there'll be people who have an idea of somebody that I'm not mentioning. But the first is Alan Joyce, of course, who heads up Qantas. The second is Andrew Mackenzie of BHP, because of his position on sustainability and the environment, which is a discord with most people in that sector who are reluctant to take a position on those two things. The third is Michael Cannon-Brookes from Atlassian, a startup that's become a unicorn, and he's got a very strong brand that is really marks him separately from everybody else with his t-shirt, his Taddy Peak cap, his beard.
And very forthright in his use as well.
And able to wear his heart on his sleeve. The fourth is Fiona Simpson, who heads up the National Farmers Federation, not so well known in the city, but really well known in the country for her forthright position on many things, her ability to be plain spoken and to take on the politicians. Her drought policy has got her into a bit of trouble, but in the main, she's got a very strong position. And the final person is Matt Comyn, who I expected to be the fall guy for the Royal Commission, appointed before the Royal Commission, head of CBA, and he's still there, still pushing out the same message. And the thing that all these people have in common is that their message is in line with their customers' expectations and is integral to the success of the company.
You talk about those messages. Alan Joyce, the Qantas CEO, on around $24 million a year. He's been very vocal on social issues, in particular same-sex marriage. I applaud him for that. I think it's tremendous. Other people aren't of that view. Where do you sit?
So, I don't know, but I suspect Qantas has made a strategic decision that most people who travel, in other words, people who can afford to travel, tend to favour same-sex marriage and issues like that. And of course, it's very close to Alan Joyce's personal values. So I suspect, besides it being his personal values, it works for the company. And so again, it's a case of the CEO's personal values being very much a part of the company's success.
Let's dig a little bit deeper into that, and values versus behaviours. What's the difference? How do you split those two?
Well, just one more thing on Alan Joyce, and that is the 24 mil. I think he's out of step there.
It's too much?
I think even the people who travel up the front, who turn left at the door, don't think that 24 mil is a reasonable salary, given that, for instance, Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister, has a much bigger job than running Qantas and earns a fraction of that amount.
Okay, so let's loop back to values versus behaviours and the difference there.
Okay, so there are two things. I'm not a huge fan of values alone. Values stuck above reception on the wall or on the website saying these are our values. I think values are limited in their not only their profile or brand building, but their effectiveness in the workplace. Behaviours are a different thing altogether. And the difference is, one is an inward thing, that's values. My personal values might be honesty and a commitment to hard work and so on. But the behaviour is integrity, which is the delivery of behaviours. If I have integrity, you can trust that I will do what I say. And hard work is the value, but getting to work early in the morning and working hard through the day and through the month, that is the behaviour. And so I think behaviours are a much greater value than values.
So it's actions. It's putting those words into actions and delivering.
And you see this with these 5 people. Well, actually, a good example of somebody who has fallen over on behaviours is Barnaby Joyce. Not a CEO, but clearly a community leader. Really put himself out there, was thundering along for being for all the correct behaviours, that is straight talk, saying what he felt, being a true representative of the rural
He
communities.
was authentic.
Yep, but then fell over totally on family values, which is a fundamental pillar of the Nat's positioning. And then, of course, with his marriage breakdown and everything that followed, and his inability to handle that. Just on that, by the way, when people are challenged with huge stress, it becomes very hard for them to make good decisions. And Barnaby Joyce talked about this. He talked about the stress that he was under and how difficult it was to make clear decisions. Under stress, people lose sleep and they really have difficulty making good decisions about themselves. Everybody can make good decisions about somebody else. It's not so easy to make good decisions about yourself, which is why you need really good advice. Somebody who you can trust to give you good advice.
Absolutely. Peter, thank you. We'd love to hear your views on the leaders and CEOs that inspire you, so leave a comment in the comment section and we'll see you next week.